Today, I will be breaking down all the similarities and differences between Blox Fruits fighting styles and One Piece. Blox Fruits has a total of 12 unique fighting styles separated into 3 different categories. Green for all the fighting styles that can be obtained in the first sea, blue for the second sea, and red for the ones in the third. You see, One Piece is a shonen, which is a genre of anime that is battle-oriented, meaning in the anime we get lots of bang-outs. And how do you have a show revolve around physical conflict without making it stale? Yes, you create diversity, which is why in One Piece it is filled with many fighting styles. But unfortunately for Blox Fruits, combat isn't one of them. Combat is the default fighting style you get when you join Blox Fruits. It is considered the worst fighting style amongst all of them due to the low damage and low combo potential. To me, basic seems like a placeholder style that is original to the game, because I couldn't find anything that was similar enough to basic to say that it was inspired by it. The M1 looks like this and does 1050 damage. Next is Quick Tackle, which does 1633 damage and has an 8-second cooldown. And finally is the Ground Smash, which does 1961 damage and has a 12.5-second cooldown. These are extremely basic moves that hundreds of the characters in One Piece could do, therefore making me give combat a 0% similarity rating to One Piece. The next green fighting style is Dark Step, which can be obtained from the Dark Step teacher on Pirate Village for 150,000 belly. Even if you don't watch One Piece, you should be able to figure this one out. The chef and 4th addition to the crew is Sanji. Born from the Vinsmoke family, Sanji has always been in love with cooking but was not allowed to enact upon his passion upon later in his life due to family conflict. Sanji's love for cooking does not mean he is some lowly chef. Quite the opposite really. Sanji really knew how important a chef's hands were. Due to this, he would use only his legs for anything that threatened his cooking, giving him this smooth, nonchalant looking black leg fighting style that he still uses to this day. The person who taught Sanji cooking and his style was the former pirate Zeph, who now owns a floating restaurant. Sanji is so proficient at combat that he is even part of the Monster 3, which was dubbed by fans to be the 3 strongest Straw Hats, although I'd argue he's not in there anymore. Anyways, while Dark Step is equipped, aura appears on the player's legs instead of their arms while activated, but it's only a visual change. You can clearly see the inspiration by the M1 alone. The slight difference would be that this is an early game fighting style, but the effect of aura is present and Sanji doesn't get hockey until post time skip. The first move is called Flying Kick and is when the user launches towards their cursor, leaving an impact dealing 2448 of damage. This move is probably most inspired by Sanji's Collier shoot, where he jumps high into the air and delivers a powerful kick to the opponent's neck. The next move is Breakdance, unlocked at 40 mastery, where the user handstands, starts spinning, and attacks everything around them using their legs while stunning the enemies. This is taken right from Sanji's party table kick, where he jumps into the air and lands on the head of one of the opponents in a handstand. He then spins around rapidly to deliver a kick to the face of anyone within range. After that is Barrage, unlocked at 80 mastery, and this is when the user releases a barrage of kicks towards their cursor, dealing 4031 damage. This is most notably from Sanji's extra Hachi's attack, where he performs a barrage of strong kicks from multiple directions at close range. And finally, Overheat, unlocked at 150 mastery, which is when the user spins really fast and sets both of the user's legs on fire, increasing Dark Step's damage by 1.22% for around 30 seconds. This is taken from Sanji's signature Diablo Jambe. Diablo Jambe is a technique where Sanji heats up his legs, adding extreme heat to the impact of his kicks. It was first seen in the Water 7 arc and can be used in combination with any of his previously mentioned attacks, which is why in-game you can as well. Because the Dark Step teacher looked like Sanji before the updates, the moveset being exactly like Sanji's and other factors, I'm gonna give Dark Step a 95% similarity rating. Following that is another green style, being Electric fighting style. Electric can be learned for 500,000 belly from the mad scientist located on the ground of Skylands. The people who use this style are already in Blox Fruits, but under a different name. I explained how the rabbit race was the Minks from the anime in this video, but I'll briefly explain them here again. The Mink tribe are a race of humanoids with furry mammalian features that live in the Mokomo Dukedom on top of Zou. They are all known to be able to generate electricity through parts of their bodies in order to shock anything they touch. This is precisely what the style does. You can even see it when standing idle with the fighting style equipped because of the electric fist this grants you. This technique grants extra damage to attacks, giving the opponents electric burns and paralysis. Electric trick is known as one of the best first fighting styles you can obtain in the game due to it actually having combo potential. When it comes to the moveset, the M1 looks like this and deals 2011 damage per hit. The first move is called Stomp, unlocked at 50 mastery, and allows the user to leap into the air, fill their hands with electricity, and linger in the air for a short second, then slamming down onto the ground, creating a small explosion of lightning, doing 2,938 damage. Unlike the other two moves, I think this is an original Blox Fruit move that was made based on the theme of the Ming tribe. After that is Electrical Tackle, unlocked at 100 mastery, and is when the user dashes forward where the cursor points, doing around 3,427 damage. This is taken from Robbie's attack on Luffy called Mogolova. This is when he headbutts his opponents while using Electro to shock them. You can see the similarities with the Electrical Tackle, diving in head first into the target. Finally is Electrical Floor, unlocked at 200 mastery, where the user slams their fists into the ground, making in front of them infused with electricity for a few moments, dealing AoE and 5,059 damage and stun. This seems to be inspired by Carrot's Electrical Luna attack, where she charges up a ball of electricity with both hands and slams it into the ground, causing a wide range blast capable of electrocuting several foes at once. Because you purchased the fighting style from a Ming looking guy, almost all the moves being uncanny to the Minks, but the Minks being a late addition to the One Piece world instead of early on, I'll give Electric Fighting Style an 80%. Following that is the final green style, being Water Kung Fu. It can be bought with 750,000 belly from the Water Kung Fu teacher in the underwater city. Just like the previous fighting styles, this fighting style is attached to a race of people, the Shark race, otherwise known as the Fishmen in the manga. They are one of two humanoid races that inhabit and rule the seas and can be mostly found living under the red line on Fishman Island. In-game, sharks have fins on their bodies, but in the anime, fishmen can come in many different variations, but usually have gills on their neck and webbed hands. They are said to be 10 times stronger than the average human man and are exceptionally stronger underwater, of course. This aligns with the fact that Water Kung Fu is on average a more damaging fighting style than its other green contemporaries. Certain fishmen have gone through the rigorous training to be able to use Fishman Karate as well as Fishman Jujutsu. Although it's named Water Kung Fu, it is definitely inspired by the attacks from the known Fishman Karate users. The M1 looks like this and does an average of 2,114 damage. The configuration of your hands are not specific to any single fishman or majority, so it must be original to Blox Fruits. The first move is called Steam Charge Fist, unlocked at 70 mastery, and allows the user to fire an air pulse, inflicting knockback, dealing 2,857 damage. This is taken from Jinbei's Harakusagawara Saiken, which is when Jinbei punches a fair distance from the intended target, transmitting the force of the blow through the water vapor in the air to release a shockwave that sends him flying. You can see that the Blox Fruits move heavily implies it's an air attack with the swooshes and lack of water animation. Following that is Deadly Shower, unlocked at 130 mastery. The user shoots many fast projectiles out of their hands, doing 4,414 damage. I think this is taken from Chu's battle with Usopp. This is when Chu rapidly fires as many shots of Mizu Depot at his target like a machine gun. Finally is the Heavy Water Punch, unlocked at 250 mastery, and is when the user charges water and lunges a powerful attack at the direction of the cursor, dealing high knockback and 4,489 damage. This seems to be a stronger version of the Steam Charge Fist, which is an anime equivalent to being Jinbei's Gosen Maigawara Saiken. As the name implies, this is a much stronger version of the Senmaigawara Saiken attack mentioned earlier. Because you purchased this style from Jinbei on Wish, the moves being a copy of a lot of Jinbei's attacks, as well as this being a higher damaging fighting style, I'm going to give Water Kung Fu a 95% similarity rate. On to the first blue fighting style, Dragon's Breath fighting style. It can be bought for 1,500 frags from Sabi, who is located on the bridge at Kingdom of Rose. When you hear Dragon's Breath, you probably think Kaido or maybe even Momonosuke, but truly the Dragon's Breath fighting style is inspired by Sabo, one of Luffy's brothers and now chief of staff in the Revolutionary Army. Sabo is a growing inspiration of the world, now even being called the Flame Emperor by the masses. The title is being given to him due to the nature of his devil fruit, which was previously used by Luffy's other brother, Orcus D. Ace. Yes, Sabo is the wielder of the Mera Mera no Mi and is a user of the Ryosoken martial art. This is why Dragon's Breath fighting style has flame-based attacks, and why later on in this video I will have to bring up the Ryosoken again. Let's see if the attacks can hold up to Sabo's as well. The M1 looks like this and does around 2,332 damage per hit. The first move is Dragon Rush, unlocked at 100 mastery and dealing 3,951 damage. The user dashes forward twice, pausing in between to change direction while engulfed in flames, with slicing particles appearing. This looks really similar to Sabo's attack on Jesus Burgess called Moryu Ryosoken Kaien Ryu. After forming his talents and coating them with Buso Shoku Haki and igniting them with his Mera Mera no Mi powers, Sabo slams them into his opponent and spins them around before blasting his target away with a burst of fire. The only differences between the game and the anime is that the victim does not spin away. After that is Dragon Flames, unlocked at 200 mastery, dealing 3,591 damage again. The user fires 2 dragons from their fists, spiraling them in front of them, doing damage and knockback. Unfortunately, I think this attack is a Blox Fruits OG idea because there is no talk of Sabo creating any dragons in the anime/manga. He works for a dragon, I guess. Lastly is Dragon Explosion, where the user buries their fists beneath them and creates an explosion with a huge radius that leaves small fiery rocks sitting on the ground, doing 4,570 damage. Sabo's Ryu no Ibuki inspired not only this move, but the name due to it literally translating to Dragon's Breath. Ryu no Ibuki is when Sabo puts his clenched fist into the ground while imbuing them with haki. He then pushes them into the floor, creating an immense impact and centered all direction fissure. You can see the attacks are similar with the anime version being much more devastating, but obviously Blox Fruits cannot do that or I'll break the game. Because you literally buy this style from Sabi, but only 2 of the attacks are being Sabo-like, I'll give Dragon's Breath an 85% similarity rating. Following that is one of my favorite fighting styles, Superhuman. This is the first fighting style to have special requirements before purchasing, being to have 300 plus mastery on Dark Step, Electric, Water Kung Fu, and Dragon's Breath. After achieving that, you can purchase it from the martial arts master in the Snow Mountain. Without wasting time, I think Superhuman is inspired by the Rokushiki techniques in the anime. These are a special superhuman martial arts style that was first introduced by being used by the CP9 Asians, hence the name of the fighting style being Superhuman. They are broken down into 7 subsections being Geppo, Tekai, Rankyaku, Soru, Shigan, Kemi-e, and Rokuogan. Contrary to popular beliefs, none of these include the use of any haki. In current times, we have even seen that some of our Straw Hats have learned these abilities, for example Saji being able to Geppo. The M1 looks like this and does around 2,477 damage per hit. The first move is Beast Owl Prowls, unlocked at 110 mastery, doing 4,733 damage. User travels a decent amount of distance in any direction, colliding with the enemy, punching the target 20 times plus, knocking them back slightly with a strong punch. I think this is a variation of the Shigan, but in exchange for fingering, it is changed to punches. Hey yo. I say this because the look of the Beast Owl Prowls. There are other examples of this in the show like Luffy's Gum Gum Gatling, but it is not on theme with the Rokushiki techniques nor being a fighting style. Let's go on to the next move, which is Thunder Clap. Unlocked at 220 mastery and allows the user to charge up an attack and summons a tornado. When released, the user stomps the ground and releases a ring of power horizontally with a thunderous boom that deals 4,080 damage to nearby enemies. Honestly, there is no similarity between this move and any of the Rokushiki techniques, but this could be Blox Fruits' take on their own original Rokushiki technique. I say that because this could easily be a combination attack of the Soru and the Rankyaku. The user could use Soru to increase their speed while using Rankyaku to throw a slash attack at a 360 and then slamming their foot in the ground to accelerate their slash. I mean, it sounds goofy, but come on, I've seen weirder things in One Piece. Finally is Conqueror's Gun. Unlocked at 330 mastery, dealing 4,406 damage. This is when the user dashes forward and knocks the enemy back. I believe this to be the Rokuogan. This was used by Rob Lucci on Luffy and is when he wraps his tail around his target to restrain them from escaping before performing the Rokuogan, except now with a larger attack radius and greater attack power than normal due to the enlarged fist of the human beast form. Because Superhuman's name is on theme, the martial arts master being a random guy, but it only having 2 moves of similarity to One Piece, I'll give Superhuman a 65% rating. All the fighting styles past this point will be an upgraded version of their previous fighting styles, except for one, so stick around to find out about the rarest fighting style. The first upgrade is Death Step, which can be obtained by acquiring the library key to open up a room, where one can then learn it from Fuyu on the Winter Castle Island for 2.5 million belly and 5,000 fragments. We obviously know this is an upgraded Death Step, meaning it's also based on our boy Sanji, so let's just get onto the moveset, but I think it'll be brief. The M1 almost looks exactly like its predecessor. On top of that, I feel like every move other than Wind Bullet is just an upgraded, faster, and stronger version of their Dark Step counterparts. I think Wind Bullet is an idea that Sanji can use Rankyaku from the Rokushiki techniques, which I do agree that he could probably do and also incorporate into his Diablo or Ifrit Jambe, but that's just an idea. Again, because there wasn't much change other than you can purchase this through her Roblox dev, I'll give Death Step a rating of 65%. Next up is Sharkman Sharkman Karate, which is much closer to Fishman Karate name than its older version. The hella underrated fighting style can be obtained by giving a water key to Daigrok, having 400 plus mastery on water kung fu, as well as 2.5 million belly and 5,000 frags. Unlike Death Step, I think Sharkman Karate is much different than water kung fu. I say this because of the move. The M1 looking like this and being much faster than its previous is a good upgrade, but I wouldn't say Jinbei or any other fishman get a big speed buff post time skip or anything. Firstly is 12 water palms, unlocked at 100 mastery, dealing 4,162 damage and allows the player to rapidly dash forward towards their cursor while striking the air with 12 water palms, pushing opponents along. There was no specific Fishman Karate or Jujutsu move that looks like this, but could 100% be a real attack in the show. Secondly is Pressure Vortex, where the player fires a vortex of water which deals damage as it grazes on enemies and then drags them upon direct contact, dealing 4,284 damage, and is unlocked at 200 mastery. This seems like the idea based off of the subsection of Fishman martial arts being Jujutsu, because Jujutsu in the show and in real life is based on grappling instead of striking, and since you send your opponent flying, it could be a lazily animated version of Jinbei's Ippon Zero attack, where he grabs the arm of the enemy while facing the opposite direction and throws them over his shoulder, causing them to fall to the ground. Following that is Great Sea Spear, unlocked at 300 mastery, dealing 4,407 damage. It is when the player hoots out a vortex of water, pulling the enemy towards the user. Then the user fires a beam of water towards the enemy, knocking it back heavily. This is not any move in the show, but I can also see being implemented down the line. Because the fighting style is on theme but not specific to any move or technique in the series, as well as other factors, I'm gonna have to give it a 60% similarity rating. Now on to the red fighting styles. The first one is Electric Claw. This can be unlocked by doing a quest for the previous hero NPC and then purchasing it for 3 million belly and 5,000 frags. This is all done on the Floating Turtle Island. We already went over how the minks are connected to the game, so let's see if the moveset is on theme. The M1 looks like this and is basically electric with claws. Now in terms of Electric Rampage and Lightning Thrust, I feel as if these moves are not anything specific to One Piece, but inspired by Carrot's Onslaught on the Daifuku fleet. For the final move, Thunderclap and Flash, unlocked at 330 mastery, it might be a variation of Carrot's Comet Rabbit kick attack due to it having an aerial start and then slam finish, leaving me to give Electric Claw a fitting 60%. After that is Dragon Talon. To get this fighting style, you gotta exchange a fire essence with Uzat, as well as having 400 mastery in Dragon's Breath. Remember me yapping about the Ryosoken earlier? The Ryosoken style focuses on holding one's fingers in a claw fashion, crushing the adversaries with a powerful grip. Sabo compares it to the dragon's claws, rendering arrogance and conceit itself. Going on to the moveset, the M1 gives you 2 fiery fists that are on theme to Sabo, but he does not always equip his flames while using his Ryosoken. Just like us, Sabo can combine his Ryosoken with his armament haki like we can with our aura. The first move is Talon Lighter, unlocked at 125 mastery. Allows the player to light their hand on fire, dash towards their cursor. If he collides with the enemy, the user will grab them and then force light their flames that turn from orange to blue inside of the enemy. 4,743 damage. This seems like another variation of Sabo's Moryu Ryosoken Kaien Ryo again. Not gonna lie, the other two moves don't seem like they have any One Piece significance other than flame based attacks, so I'm gonna skip over them. Rating Dragon Talon with a 50% similarity rating. The penultimate fighting style is Godhuman, which can be obtained by buying it from the ancient monk for 5 million belly, 5,000 frags, and various items, on top of already having 400 plus mastery on all blue level fighting styles and E-Claw. Godhuman is my favorite fighting style, but I honestly don't see much similarity between it and One Piece. Maybe you could make the previous argument I made for Superhuman, that the 6th realm gun is the Rokuo gun. Other than that, I'll give Godhuman a 0% similarity rating. Finally is the newest fighting style, and one that I don't even have yet, Sanguine Arts, which can be obtained by giving a Leviathan heart to Shafi, or one can purchase it for 5 million belly, 5,000 frags, and various items. I think the Sanguine style is very vampiric in nature, and that leads me to think of what vampires are in One Piece. Well, I only have 2 ideas. The first is Karasu. You know, the commander of the North Army of the Revolutionaries? Anyways, while he does look Dracula-ish, his devil fruit powers nor abilities align with anything like Sanguine. Then I realized there are vampires in One Piece. Okay, well, no, but in a One Piece game. There was a fruit called the Bato no Mi Model Vampire, but this also did not give you any powers that look like Sanguine Arts. On top of that, the way of obtainment for the art is unlike anything in One Piece. So I don't think there's any reasons to go on with this breakdown, and just ending it here with a similarity rating of 0%. Well, that's all for today, peoples. If you made it this far, please please consider subscribing because 96.5% of you aren't. But have you ever wondered how Blox Fruits got the ideas for some of the things in game? If so, go check out this video where I broke down all the similarities and differences between One Piece and Blox Fruits. In a moment, another video will pop up on the screen you should probably go check out. You know what it is. Millz Mafia out. Yeah.